Hello everyone, it is I, Ryan, also known as the Lovebat. And as you can tell from just the video up in front of you here, this is going to be something a little different today. As a sort of long time, not necessarily a competitive player, but someone who's followed Magic the Gathering for quite a while, and someone who's played it dating back to when I was just a kid, I wanted to finally go ahead and do my first sort of true Magic the Gathering video here. And technically, it's not the first one I've ever uploaded on my channel. A very long time ago, back in like the early 2010s or something like that, maybe like 2010 or so, I did upload like a couple of test gameplay footage things of Magic the Gathering duels of the Planeswalker back when it was on consoles. And so technically I uploaded a couple of videos of that, but then I removed them down the line because I didn't really feel like they were real videos necessarily. So even though that was it wasn't necessarily a bad game, but it was very limited in the amount of cards that you actually got to use from when I played it. And multiplayer, if you played with more than two players in like one versus one versus one, or one versus one versus one versus one, it was essentially decided by, kind of arbitrary factors, like the blue player wouldn't ever be able to win, but they would decide who wins by which spells that they would choose to counterspell. Because back in those days, it's just like the cards were more limited in what you got with each particular deck. And you kind of just had to hope and pray that your strong cards weren't just going to get blown off the field and then kind of have the dice swing on you or whatever with the good old switcheroo where they get the advantage and then suddenly they just kind of snowball at the victory after that. This game, Magic the Gathering Arena, which is what I'm playing on, is sort of like an actual, fully utilized sort of Magic the Gathering game here for anyone who's not familiar with it, at least. Anyone who's familiar with this game, they already know, this is all just fluff for them. But for anyone that's not really familiar, Magic the Gathering, it's been around for a long time, but Magic the Gathering Arena is like the first actual game that actually makes online multiplayer accessible and playable for the majority of people that want to play. Because paper Magic, especially in the once the COVID era started, paper Magic just has been kind of fading into the background a little bit. Obviously, there's people that still play it, but it's nowhere near as prominent as it was, say, in the late 90s, early 2000s, back when I was growing up with it. It was very prominent, and people would buy booster packs all the time. Me and my brother would buy them all the time at the sort of local gaming store kind of stuff. But there was actually an old local gaming store called The Gatekeeper that I used to go to in a city called Topeka, Kansas, the capital of Kansas. Me and my brother and a family friend, we used to go there all the time and occasionally grab Magic cards and sort of build very unoptimized but fun decks and all these other cool things at the time. And back in the days when a 6-mana 6/6 creature was considered a big deal with no ribbon abilities whatsoever. But it'll be interesting to go and dive into my very first Magic the Gathering Arena video, my first Magic the Gathering video proper, and to give an idea of what I've been doing with this game. And I'm going to go ahead and do a Baldur's Gate draft, which is the newest sort of set of cards or format that is in there. It's going to be over here, I believe. Yep, so these are all the events, and then you have drafts, which basically allow you to go ahead and draft cards to build a deck. And the cards are kind of randomized based on a combination of rarity and only limiting it to one card of each kind per pack, like maximum. So it's like, say, if you come up with, like, say, one particular goblin card, you can only have one of those cards in each sort of pack that's passed through that people pick from. Sort of kind of like a fantasy draft in like the old Madden games where you pick through players and you take turns going through, packs of cards kind of stuff, and then you pick through and you try and build a deck based on synergies or theme, or possibly just picking the strongest cards in particular colors, and you build a deck out of it. And there's a couple of other deck ideas that are the non-draft variety that I've just built myself that at some point in time I may end up showcasing on this channel, hopefully sometime soon. And then occasionally you can save drafts or decks from drafts that you did based on like cards that you got there that maybe they did well for you in the draft or notable cards that you were able to pick up. So some decks I might show later are a dragon-themed deck, which is in the Alchemy format, and then standard decks such as a cleric deck, sort of like an artifact and treasure-themed deck with different synergies with that, a zombie deck, and then a samurai deck, which is heavily based off of the Kamigawa samurai sorts of warrior type theme and deck synergy there. And then 2 spells in 1 turn, which is like lots of low mana cost cards where you can try and get out usually pretty reliably 2 spells in a turn to activate some synergies and to just keep on going back in for more and trying to sort of aggro down the opponent. Most of these decks are aggro type decks where you try and get the pacing going very fast, like the cleric deck. This deck's also pretty fast. It's not necessarily fast, but you pump up artifacts, you try and get in there, and you try and get good value out of all your cards. And then the samurai and 2 spells 1 turn deck, also very aggressive. You want to try and curve out and just go after your opponent very fast. And then clerics are also similarly somewhat aggressive deck, but they tend to have much more control, and they can kind of grind the game out if necessary because they get lots of life gain and different cool stuff like that. The dragon deck is the one deck where it's kind of a more slow-going type deck. It isn't super aggressive, and they can be taken advantage of by the aggressive decks if you can't build up to your big old dragons to try and overpower the enemy, basically. So those are decks to look forward in possibly future videos, and I don't really have much in the way of wild cards here. I spent lots of wild cards to build up the decks that I already have. But maybe I can go ahead and find some good cards for my Alchemy deck or other future Alchemy decks for the Baldur's Gate draft that I would like to do. The very first format that I became familiar with when I first installed Magic the Gathering Arena was Zendikar Rising, which I know by a lot of people wasn't necessarily considered one of their favorite formats. But even though the format was a bit hard to get a grasp of and the cards were wildly varying in quality, it did bring about my favorite archetype in the cleric deck. The cleric deck that I've played has been easily my most successful deck, and the Zendikar Rising format gave you an actual, a good baseline to build off of for the cleric decks that I've been using for the past 1 to 2 years. So we're going to go into, I think a premier draft is what I want here, which is a best of 1 draft, or a best of 1 format where you play games after you do your draft, and then you basically play up to, you either win 7 games or you lose 3 games. Whichever one you reach first is going to be what ends your run. So if you lose 3 games, then you don't get to play any more games, and then if you win 7 games, then you get the maximum reward here. So the maximum number of games that you can play is 9. You can go either, like, you can go 7-2 or 6-3 as far as wins and losses potentially. So the goal is to draft a very good deck and then try and win as many games as you can. There's also a best of 3 format with the drafting as well, which is essentially the same except you play 3 other players with their decks in a best of 3 format, and then you can choose also sideboard cards to go ahead and utilize in the matchup based on what you see from your opponent. For this particular draft, I'm going to just do a best of 1, and then maybe later I'll go ahead and in a future day I will go ahead and do a best of 3 format to kind of show what you can do for sideboarding and having more interesting selections for cards based on sideboards. So yeah, it gives you a general idea of what some of the different archetypes here are. And obviously you can see dragons are a bit of a theme in the Baldur's Gate draft. There are some reprints of dragons from the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set of cards that was around, say, I don't know, I think it was late 2021 was the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set. So it was a little while ago for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, but even though the format wasn't a best of formats, there were lots of individual cards that I liked and lots of cool dragons. So who knows, if I'm lucky, I might be able to draft a very good dragon deck here and see what we can do. So I have a general idea of a lot of the cards. I've watched some other draft videos from other YouTubers because I haven't been able to get around to this yet, and I needed to get up the pile of gold to start a draft. So this is my very first draft that I've ever done as far as making a video for it, and let's go and dive in here and see how we do. Not the first draft I've ever done overall. I've done about 10 in the past couple of years, but not very many. All right, so looks like we have some pretty good cards here. We have Sarevok the Usurper, who, if anyone's familiar with the Baldur's Gate video games, they recognize who he is. This is a very good card with a mechanic called Specialize, where you can go ahead and discard a card of the associated type, such as a land card that's like, say, a Plains. You can do it for the white and so on and so forth. Or a card that you don't really care about, you can get rid of and specialize them into different colors here with different effects. So Sarevok's very good with some very good effects for pumping. This is very good for a dragon deck and for ramping. Fireball, some decent removal. Myconid is also great for ramping in the dragon deck. I'm going to go and select Sarevok here because that's probably the strongest individual card. Flaming Fist Officer is good for blink decks where you remove creatures from play and then blink them back into the battlefield, or anything that uses like sacrifice synergies as well, such as black-white. Lindworm is a pretty good high-end dragon if you can ramp towards it. And those are the notable cards. The Myconid would be pretty good if I wanted to do a dragon deck like I was talking about, because it helps to ramp up. Alright, so now what do we have? We have another Orb of Dragonkind here if I still want to try and make a dragon deck work, and we might be able to wheel, like, say, a young red dragon if we're fortunate. But there's also some pretty good black cards. We have a Guildsworn Prowler. Chain Devil is good if you have sacrifice synergies, like some low mana sort of zombie type things like a Shambling Ghast, or very weak creatures that you can not mind sacrificing, like tokens or the Shambling Ghast, which is like a 1/1 zombie that gives you something when it dies. Steadfast Paladin is good if I want to go like black-white life gain maybe. Right click this. So that gives you first strike for the white one, which is actually quite good. I could go for maybe like a life gain deck with these two cards, or either of them, and hope I wheel the other one. But Guildsworn Prowler is quite good, so I'm going to go and take this and just stick the black for now, because giving you card draw in most scenarios is very, very good, and you can be nice and aggressive with it as well. Well, I'm getting kind of punished for not going for dragons here, because I'm going to, I don't know if I want to go and try and switch into maybe some kind of dragon theme here, because there's two very good dragon deck cards here. Thrakus the Butcher doubles the power of each dragon you control if it attacks, so you can get very aggressive with this. There's also an Incessant Provocation, which is very good in red-black sacrifice synergies. This would be a more speculative but high upside pick. On its own, it's not a very good card, but if you get sacrifice cards like Deadly Dispute and Sepulchre Ghouls, which is a black card, both of those are black cards, it can be very strong. But it's probably something that will wheel for us, so I could go ahead and take something to see if I can pivot into a dragon deck. Let's go with the stronger card, and then we can hope to wheel this if we still want to be like red-black maybe. And I'm getting very rewarded for going for red here, because the red is really wheeling around here from the other people that are drafting. So Battlecry Goblin is awesome. It's not quite as awesome in this set as it was in the Forgotten Realms set from last year, but it's still very strong on its own. There's not as many goblins in the set to pair it with, but there's still a couple of other good goblins, like there's a Hobgoblin Captain, which is an aggressive 2-mana creature. Young Red Dragon for dragons, which would be pretty strong in the air, attacking with Thrakus. And also it can ramp you with a treasure token, so you can do that on turn 2. Play the Young Red Dragon on turn 3, and that can be strong. Rabble Rouser is a great aggressive card. And then this is awesome with double team cards. Liara and Genocide want to be in the same deck, but I'm going to go with the Battlecry Goblin. Young Red Dragon would be great, but it's possible that these dragons might end up wheeling for us, and it might be good in that fashion. So, okay, so we have white cards here that can be good value in the right decks. Portable Hole is sort of cheap removal, and it can go well in the blink deck if you want to have this remove something else from play in a later turn, perhaps, with like a Icewind Stalwart, or anything that can kind of blink any permanent in and out of the battlefield could go well with Portable Hole. Nefarious Imp is decent if you do sacrifice synergies. And then this is also good with sacrifice synergies. So I'm just going to go with the creature here. It's choosing Ascend from Avernus, but we're pretty far away from that. So I'm just going to go with the 2/1 flyer that can go well with sacrifice synergies. Okay, so more incessant provocations are coming around here. So the sacrifice deck could be open. Red-black sacrifice is a good theme. We do, like, there's not exactly much in the way of green cards, so we could splash Thrakkus and use, like, treasure generation to do it, which is possible in red-black. Incessant Provocation has more upside, but Hook Horror is quite great with sacrificing it to Sepulchre Ghouls or Deadly Disputes and getting free value off of it. We're likely to get more Hook Horrors in the future, so I'm just going to go with the high upside card here that we can possibly get some sacrifice synergies with. Okay, and so not a whole lot here. There's been some blue cards coming around. Blue is usually open in both this format and the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set, which reprints some of the cards from that set into this set, since they're both in the D&D universe. There's not much for us here. Manticore is a semi-decent, like, combat removal trick type thing. You can flash it in, and then you can go ahead and have a creature die that was dealt damage by, say, like a very low power creature that you chump blocked with it. So if we get like any of the Shambling Ghasts in any future packs, then Manticore can be pretty good, where we block them with a 1/1, then flash in Manticore and get like a free treasure token or some value on that. Giant Fighter Beetles is quite good with Menace. Prophetic Prism is good for splashing if I want to splash Thrakkus in our deck, and it's likely to make the deck no matter what I do. This is good for ramping if we get a big creature. I'm going to go with the more aggressive strategy, and you can sacrifice Giant Fighter Beetles in this kind of deck because you can attack with it, get double team, then maybe sacrifice it to like a Deadly Dispute, and you can pump out another one in the next turn and just get free value off of it. Cloak of the Bat's good for aggro if you have like a high-end card that you want to give flying and haste. If you have this on the field and you have like ramp or treasures to equip it in the same turn. I'm just going to go ahead and go with Unexpected Windfall though, because there's some more synergies potentially with treasures. And Improvised Weaponry wheeled around, so that's a pretty good removal spell in red. It's not a perfect removal spell, it's 3 mana sorcery speed. But if we were to end up getting Deadly Disputes or possibly the Skullport Merchant, which is a 3 mana black card that can sacrifice treasures and drawing cards, then this is going to be really, really good. So let's go with this one. There's some white cards coming around, but I don't think that we're going to be able to pivot into it, and these aren't really a sign that's white's open. Devoted Paladin is really good, especially in red-white, where you can have the... there's a 1 mana... 1/1 Kobold type card. Ooh, Genocide Rabble Rouser wheeling is great. That's a great sign for red-black aggro here. And another provocation. That's going to be great if we can get some sacrifice synergies going. But yeah, the Devoted Paladin is good in red-white aggro, but it's kind of... It's not something that's really a sign that white is fully open. But we have some good red aggro cards here. Baldur's Gate, which is sort of the namesake of this set, it's not very good on its own. It's probably much better in Constructed, where you can build a deck around having a lot of gates in your deck and then getting lots of mana ramp around them, and as well as fixing. Not likely you're ever going to draft this in a draft format and play it. Wild Shape is a half-decent combat trick with the hexproof option you can see there with the 1/3 turtle. I'm just going to select Battlecry Goblin because that's another great aggro card. So... not exactly sure what kind of theme we're going for here. We have red-black aggro. We can do some sacrifice aggro synergies as well with Sepulchre Ghouls, and maybe get some card advantage with Deadly Disputes or Skullport Merchants. But this is a pretty good card, and we already have another one to combo it with, so it's a pretty good card, I would say, for our deck. Yeah, passing on Liara of the Flaming Fist, that's something that we could have splashed, and it would be good with our double team cards, like in red. And then Battlecry Goblins would also be pretty good with those. Maybe if we end up passing like another one here, we can go ahead and take it. The Myconids are good for ramp, but we're not in green. We might splash Thrakkus because on its own it's still 3/4 trample that doubles its power when it attacks. So that's still like a halfway decent curve topper, especially in an aggro deck where you want to try and get in as much damage as possible. You can do this to create treasures, and we can just keep on putting out treasures, and maybe we can sacrifice them for card value if we get some good cards coming around to us here that can sacrifice treasures. So, and it's also pretty good for aggro on the top end when you can attack on turn 4 or turn 5 with a bunch of creatures like maybe Rabble Rousers or Battle Cry Goblins. Then they can get in there with double strike when you have a bunch of treasures to sacrifice. So, all right, so now some white cards are coming around, but I think it's too late to pivot into white. We do have an improvised weaponry here for removal. Again, there are some good white cards here. Monk of the Open Hand would be good in like a red-white aggro deck, but I think it's too late to try and pivot into white. And Saravok is probably our best card, so we don't really pivot out of black. This would be halfway decent if we can get the token generation here. If we can maybe wheel Cloak of the Bat, we can equip it onto Drider and then make some tokens that we can sacrifice to some sacrifice type synergies maybe. So I'll go with that, hope to wheel the Cloak of the Bat. Alright, Hobgoblin Captain here is going to be great for red-black aggro. Lurking Roper has been a surprisingly good card that I've seen in these formats. It can really stop aggro decks, and then in any deck that has some life gain in it, timely life gain, then you can untap it and just give it sort of semi-vigilance to attack, untap it, and then do it all over again. Yeah, Hobgoblin Captain works great with Battlecry Goblin. You can easily get Pack Tactics with the two of these cards, and then you can go in there and give this thing first strike and force them to make some very bad trades with your cards. So that's a very good pickup for us. No black. Giant Fighter Beetles is fine. This is also pretty good with sacrifice synergies. And it can fix to splash for Thrakkus. I think I might just go with this. We haven't wheeled any of the sacrifice cards yet, but it could be that maybe some of these packs just didn't have any of them to wheel around in the first place. So there's some blue as usual. Blue's usually open. Giant Fighter Beetles is still a good aggro card, but we'll take this in case we get any of these sacrifice cards that are in black. Warriors of Tiamat is decent because it has haste. There isn't too much for us here. I don't think that we want to take another Manticore. We don't really have any sort of one-drop creatures to chump block with and then try and flash this in. So I'll just go with the more aggressive card and hope it works out. There's been some more dragon-type cards here that I'm missing out on, which kind of sucks. That I like the dragon deck idea a lot, and I could have gotten more dragons, but you gotta take what you can get. Okay, so Fireball is a halfway decent sort of curve topper here. Ambition's cost, probably not what we want to have in an aggro deck, because it's 4 mana. And while it can draw you action, you're not really going to be able to play any action on that turn, so it's more of a, if you flood out scenario, this can get you card advantage. The problem with that is that you're usually going to have your opponent counterattacking you after you attack in. So losing life as an aggro deck, maybe not the best thing to do if you're trying to race someone. But we do get another Battlecry Goblin, and we're going to take it over the Kobold Warcaller because this can go ahead and give creatures, or goblins at the very least, haste. And we do have some good old low curved goblins here that give haste, and plus the goblins can generate out of the card. So Kobold Warcaller would be really good with, say, Thrakkus to get it in there and then have like a 6/4 Trampler as it comes out, but Valor Singer is a very good aggressive card here. Youngblue Dragon is a pretty good dragon card if I was in the dragon deck. Maybe in a future draft I'll do like a 3-color dragon deck. That's green, red, and blue, I think, are the best colors for that. But Valor Singer is a good aggro card, so we're going to keep going with that. It's very good for activating the pack tactics of some of these other low curve cards. Giant Fire Beetles is a good pickup here on the wheel. Earth Cult Elemental's not that great. Neither is Unexpected Allies. They're not exactly desirable cards. And we got the Cloak of the Bat on the wheel. That's a very good sign. Maybe not necessarily as much of a good sign as it is a good card for our decks. That way we can do top end with some of these curve toppers here. Get them in right away. And Improvised Weaponry is another good pickup. If I'm lucky, then maybe the next pack will end up getting like a Skullport Merchant or Deadly Dispute to take advantage of the treasures. Don't think I'm going to play this one, so I'm just going to put that on the sideboard. Alright, so there is a Grim Bounty here. This is some pretty good removal. We could do another Thrakkus, but I don't think that we'd want to splash two of them. I think we can easily splash one of them with the treasure generation that we have. We have improvised weaponry. We can play one unexpected windfall for the ramp and the treasure sort of synergies. There's also a red-black card called Kalain, which is 2 mana that can boost up your creatures if you cast them with treasure tokens. So keeping some treasure synergies in here can be good if we get one of those in the final pack here. So Lulu's a pretty good specialized card. This is good for combat trick to save a creature that's getting targeted by removal. So yeah, we could have had some pretty good white cards if we stuck with white. Ooh, Liara of the Flaming Fist. Yes, please. This is a card that's worth splashing even over the Rabble Rouser. The Rabble Rouser in Pack 2 wheeled, or it came around in a later pick, like what, pick 6? I can't quite remember. But we got a Rabble Rouser pretty later on in one of the packs, so we can maybe wheel this, even though it's an awesome card for our deck. But we can splash this, and it's worth splashing because we have 3 Battlecry Goblins. This has double team. We have 2 Giant Fire Beetles that have double team. So, yeah, we can get multiples of some of these cards. Then we are going to be cooking with aggro heat. So let's do this. Liara is definitely a... Oh, that's definitely a card with splashing. And oh, we have some more good picks in here. Deadly Dispute would be great since we have so many treasures. This is great with aggro and giving cards haste. This is great because this is a double team card and it goes great with Liara. I want all 3 of these cards. It's more likely that the Warcaller and the Deadly Dispute will wheel. I really want the Deadly Dispute because it's awesome with all of our treasure generation. But Null Hunting Party is so good with Liara. This is double team. And this is very good for aggro, and you can curve out with it and get it out early if you attack in with, say, our goblins here. We're just going to go with the good aggro card and never look back. Priest of Ancient Lore is a really good white card, and then Draconic Lore is very good for the dragon decks for card advantage and trying to get to your action later in the game. This is a halfway decent counterspell if you feel like you're in a spot that something's worth countering. Pilgrim's Eye is the only real card for us here in case we end up with some kind of sacrifice card on the wheel. And then it can also help fix for Liara and Thrakkus. So I'm just going to go with this card. Another Battlecry Goblin. Oh, yes, please. I am liking that. Oh, you know, this is going to be major aggro with all these Battlecry Goblins. So we have 4 Battlecry Goblins, 1 Hobgoblin Captain. How many goblins do we have total? Just the ones that I noted before, but this is very good for aggro. Keeps your curve pretty low. We don't have any 1-drops. If we wheel the Kobold Warcaller, that would be great for this deck. Deadly Dispute would be great too for the just for the card advantage aspect of it. Sewer Plague is some good removal on the wheel. This is something that perpetually debuffs something, so even if they can get it back from the graveyard, it's going to be a very debuffed card. So because it's perpetual, that means that, say, if you do anything like this that gets something back from the battle or to the battlefield effects, if you get something back from the graveyard, for example, then Sewer Plague makes it to where one of their big beefy creatures, ooh, another Liara, I will take that and be quite happy about that. But I guess as I was saying, Sewer Plague is good for both these smaller creatures to kill them immediately or the bigger ones to slowly turn them into a nothingness type card. So Liara is going to be absolutely devastating if you can curve out with some of these aggro cards. Sepulchre Ghoul would be decent here, but we don't really have many of the synergies I was hoping for except for Pilgrim's Eye for sacrificing. Dragon's Fire is just some good removal, and so this will make our deck much, much better than Sepulchre Ghoul. So I think I'm just going to take this and never look back. I don't think that we're going to play any of these. I don't think we need another Unexpected Windfall. We already have 2 of them, so let's just take the more aggro-heavy card here and put it on the sideboard. Maybe we can consider it. Favorite enemy is not bad. That's not a bad combat trick, depending on your deck, but Unicorn is probably the best card here for the life gain deck. It wants to be in the same deck as the Inspiring Bard. We're just going to take a Pilgrim's Eye. Fireball, I could consider it as some top-end removal if we need it. And then none of these really matter. I'll just take the Dragon card. Alright, so that was an interesting sort of red-black aggro draft with a Liara splash. I'm not even sure if I need to splash the Dragon card that I have. I mean, I could as sort of like a Curve Topper aggro card. I would have probably been more likely to splash... I'd be more likely to splash Thrakkus if I'd ended up with the Kobold Warcaller on the wheel, because then I could get this out right away with haste, and then go in with a 6/4 trample creature on turn 5 or turn 4 with any of our ramp elements of treasures. But yeah, this is going to be a moment for me to decide on what I'm going to cut here. Double Team is going to be great with Liara of the Flaming Fist. We don't have any 1-drops, but we have plenty of 2-drops. Cloak of the Bat can be very good for an aggro deck to fly over the top. If I can fly over the top with like a Battlecry Goblin in the air and then a first striking Hobgoblin Captain on the ground, that can actually be pretty strong. Because then I can generate like free goblins and force them to trade or chump block and do all that kind of stuff. Gonna take a quick swig of water here while I decide on my cuts, because there's quite a few to make. Okay, so what to cut? Thrakkus is a strong card. Other than the Warriors of Tiamat, we didn't really end up with any dragons to take advantage of it. I mean, it's still a strong synergy to turn this into like an 8/2 creature or something like that. But without trample, they can easily trade off like a 2-drop or a 3-drop with one of these guys. Yeah, I think I'm off the Thrakkus splash. I think I'm just going to splash Liara, since that's a card worth splashing in an aggro deck, whereas Thrakkus, not really. If we ended up with the Kobold Warcaller, then maybe, because then I could get it out on turn 4 or turn 5 with haste, go in with a 6/4 trampler to try and finish off the game maybe, or to try and force them into some bad blocks to stop it. But as of now, I think that Null Hunting Party is a much better curve topper that gets cheaper if we go aggro, so cheaper to play if we go like heavy aggro. Double Team is still good, though. Drider, we didn't really end up with any sacrifice synergies, and so I don't think it's good enough here. We have enough removal to deal with flying creatures, I think, that we don't really need the Drider. It's just too expensive. It's unlikely, like, it's good with Cloak of the Bat if you can get in there and generate spider tokens and everything, but that's a very slow-going card, and I think that we want to be like a beat-down aggro deck. So this is still good by giving double strike with treasures, and we do have ways of gaining treasures. Incessant Provocation, I think, can go. We didn't end up getting the Deadly Dispute on the wheel. Otherwise, I would keep one of them. It's not necessarily bad for aggro to try and finish off the game, but usually you want a Sepulchre Ghoul or a Deadly Dispute in your deck to really truly take advantage of this, because those are usually the most reliable ways of sacrificing a card. Manticore, I think, can probably go as well. We don't really have any small creatures that we are feeling good about trading to, because we don't want to block with Guildsworn Prowler. We can, but we probably don't want to. We want to usually attack with it and at least get a trade and a card draw out of it. That's usually what you want to do with it. And so Manticore, I mean, this already has Death Touch, and so Manticore doesn't really synergize with it because it already has Death Touch and it will automatically kill whatever it hits. So aren't really any good reasons to play Manticore here. What else? I think that we're only going to need 1 plains, and then we can rely on things like treasures and Pilgrim's Eye to go ahead and get us the plains that we have. 16 land deck is something that I agree with, and then Pilgrim's Eye can grab like a swamp if we need it, or if we're short on any of these two colors. And we do have double red. We have double black with Grim Bounty, but that's removal, so if we can't play it right away, it's not the end of the world. So we're heavy on creatures right now. Could maybe cut a couple more. It is an aggro deck, though, and you like to have extra action with creatures. So, and plus with Liara, having more creatures is better for especially the double team cards. So I don't want to cut Battlecry Goblins. The Furious Imp I think can go. That's just not strong enough. We didn't get any of these sacrifice cards to be able to go off with this and get some card advantage and get good draws in for more action. Because like if we did have sacrifice synergies with like Sepulchre Ghoul and Deadly Disputes, then having one of these can actually be pretty decent to try and ensure that you draw more action. Like you can go ahead and use like a Deadly Dispute, then you can have the Nefarious Imp's ability trigger after you draw with Deadly Dispute, and then you can scry one after that for some mega card advantage. But yeah, as of this deck, we're more like just red-black, aggro, beat down, smash him in the face kind of deck. Unexpected Windfall is still pretty good. We can do double strike with the Extraordinaire. We can get out some of these higher end double team type cards as well with that. We can use the treasures to go ahead and use it to equip Cloak of the Bat on one of our top end cards as well. And for aggro, that's actually not a bad idea to give, like, say, Little Hunting Party haste when it comes out. So what's the final cut? Pilgrim's Eye could be it, but we want to have the ability to reliably splash for Liara. Yeah, this is a pretty tough cut. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4 ways of treasure generation without Unexpected Windfall. Plus Pilgrim's Eyes can be chump blockers and get a land. I mean, I guess Pilgrim's Eyes are decent with Manticore as a chump blocker in the air that can block basically anything, but I still don't think it's good enough to justify the Manticore. Especially since this is like a 3-drop. See, Staravox, very good. I mean, we could cut a Pilgrim's Eye. We can't use it to specialize with Staravox because it's a colorless card. So we can't really specialize with Staravox that way. So the black specialize is Menace, which is pretty good for aggro cards. It prevents them from getting easy blocks. They have to invest more creatures into blocking a single creature, so it allows you to put more damage through with the other creatures that are attacking. And so this goes ahead and gives you value if you have cards in the graveyard, which is not bad. I think that the red specialized, though, which is the majority of our deck here, is going to be the bread and butter with Menace and giving extra power so they can't really effectively block a single creature with Menace and getting a boost to their power. Like, I don't know, Unexpected Windfall could be the play because we already want to discard cards to specialize Staravox, and everything else we're going to want to play as much as possible in our sort of aggro deck. This might be just too slow as far as treasure generation. Deadly Dispute would have been much better than Windfall. Now granted, it would be great to have it for, you know, getting to these higher end creatures first, but we already have Grim Bounty, Weaponry, Swashbuckler for treasures and splashing Liara. We have Pilgrim's Eye for fixing and grabbing the plains for Liara, so we can play Liara. And we also have it to grab some black mana if we need it. 16 lands I think is good for an aggro deck. We can make Null Hunting Party cheaper as well with attacking in. We have treasures to get some extra mana for double red and double black. So yeah, I think this deck's looking pretty good for red-black aggro. We got some very good aggressive cards in here. We could have had one more Rabble Rouser, but it was a very tough pick to decide on cards that we'd want to take over it. Obviously taking like the Thrakkus, in hindsight, maybe not quite as good, but it was the best card, I think, in the pack that it was in. So we could have splashed it if we had the Kobold Warcaller or something like that to have it get out right away and be aggro once you get it out, but yeah, I think this is the way we're going to go. I could swap out like a Valor Singer for another Warriors of Tiamat because of the double team and Liara, but Valor Singer makes our 2-drops that much more powerful, and it goes very good with like Servok's ability to give Menace, so if you can just get aggro in there, then it can be very strong. Giant Fire Beetles as well, it goes well with them since they have Menace. Alright, so let's go ahead and go with this deck, and let's see how this thing does. Again, I'm not familiar with like every single card in the set, as I'm sipping on my water here, but I'm familiar with a number of them. You know, I've looked into the set and I've read, you know, the different cards and stuff, and you know, I watched some of the draft videos because I just didn't have a chance to get around to drafting myself yet. So I figured, okay, I'll see if the set's any good if I want to go ahead and spend the gold coins on drafting in the set, and it seems like a pretty fun little set. So, other than the fact that blue seems weak in it, as is the case with many draft formats, other than blue kind of being underpowered, to put it kindly, it seems like a very fun set. So we're going to keep this hand. We have some 2-drops into turn 4 Zervok maybe, and we can just get in there. So, and if needed, we can discard Null Hunting Party to specialize Zervok and just make it stronger and make our other cards stronger. So. Yeah, we're gonna go with this, and if we can't get white mana right away, that's okay. If we draw a Pilgrim's Eye, we can get it. If we draw improvised weaponry, we can still get Liara out, so. At the very least, turn 2 Hobgoblin and a turn 4 Zervok is still halfway decent. Let's go ahead and play out the mountain, and we're just going to see if they want to try and trade with the Hobgoblin here. If they attack enemies that they're open to just trading the Paladin. Looks like they might be red-white aggro like us. Yeah, red-white, not really the life gain colors. It's usually going to be aggro. Green-white or black-white would be maybe more of the life gain type of deck. Yeah, with 1 mana, I don't think that there's any combat trick that they can play in red that could get their Paladin to survive a smash from the Hobgoblin. So a land isn't a terrible draw. We do have double black, so, well, double black won't matter because we can only play 1 land, and we'd have to draw another black at some point, so. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to stay back and hold off the Steadfast Paladin and not trade it off with like the Barbarian here. So I think the Paladin is probably more valuable to them unless they have like a major top end card that they might want to play turn 4. I don't know if they have like 1 mana removal or maybe 1 mana. Yeah, there's not really much you can do with 1 mana in red. There's not much 1 mana removal in this set. There's the Patriarch's Humiliation or whatever it is in white. That's like 1 mana removal, but they only had 1 red mana available there, so. So yeah, they have a Valor Singer like we do. Good aggro card. I'm not going to block this. I'm just going to try and hold them back. By keeping the Hobgoblin Captain from blocking, we can just make sure that they don't attack with all 3 on a turn. Because then we get to pick which creature that we trade with. Battlecry Goblin's a good draw, but we just didn't get it soon enough so we could curve out into Servok here, so I could end up discarding Liara of the Flaming Fist for Servok's, for his white specialized ability. Let's just get him out here first. This makes the best use of mana. They could have the Patriarch's Humiliation to maybe try and go after the Hobgoblin, or they could use it on Servok after he's on the battlefield here, but such is life if they have it. At the very least, it gets rid of a removal spell. So yeah, next turn I could play Battlecry Goblin, and then I could also specialize Servok and just discard Liara of the Flaming Fist to get the white one, which gives first strike. I don't know what they're waiting for. Like, if they have a removal spell, they should just use it and decide. Maybe they're trying to decide if they want to use it on Servok or the Hobgoblin Captain. The Humiliation spell, the 1 mana white removal, it deals damage equal to the number of creatures they have on the field, so it would kill both of our creatures here if they have it. Or it would kill either of them if they have it, so they could pick and choose either one if they wanted to use it. I don't know if like our opponent is lagging out here or something, or if they're just indecisive. Because for 1 mana, I don't know what they were thinking about there, so I'm just going to hold back once more. And then if they attack here, then next turn I can attack into them much more effectively than they can attack into me. So they might attack with everyone here, and then expect that I'm going to attack them on the backswing, because my Hobgoblin Captain can get first strike, and they would have to double block the Servok in order to go ahead and kill it. I could also just top out with a Fireball here and kill whatever they cast here, since it deals 5 damage. I know that they have something here. One of them has to be like a combat trick or a removal spell of some kind. So now it looks like they're going to start digging in. I really want to keep the Hobgoblin Captain alive, but getting rid of the Steadfast Paladin would be pretty helpful too. The longer the Paladin stays alive, then the harder it is going to be for us to win the race with their life total. So, and then I'm not going to block with Servok. I'm going to see what kind of combat trick that they have here, because I want to keep Servok alive. They probably want to save the Paladin, and so I'm willing to go ahead and give up my Hobgoblin for their combat trick here to try and kill it. It sucks that I'm not going to be able to have it synergize with the Battlecry Goblin here, but the Steadfast Paladin's going to have too much life gain for us to win the race if we let it live here, so I've got to try and kill it here. Decisions for the opponent. I mean, they have to have something here. I don't know, like this. They're taking a long time to think about it. I mean, I take a long time to think about things too in my gameplay videos, but yep, they had something. They were just deciding if they wanted to use it or not. But Battlecry Goblin it is. I can also go ahead and use the Fireball if I really want to and just clear their board and prevent them from doing anything, but with 2 Battlecry Goblins, I think the decision is now pretty easy. We're just going to play both of these and never look back with that. Once again, they probably have either a removal spell or a combat trick. I don't know what they're taking so long for, unless they just need to read the card. Maybe they're new to the format. And I want to read the card again because I'm playing another one. I mean, I don't want to win by them timing out on all of their turns here, but they're taking a long time to look at these cards, so, and make decisions, so. It is possible if your opponent times out enough on their priority for these turns that you do win the match by default. If they just try and stall the game out by not doing anything, they end up getting punished for it by losing, so. They probably have removal. They're probably taking a far too long amount of time to decide if they want to use it on one of the goblins. And chances are they just drew the Kobold Warcaller because as a 1-drop, it probably would have been easy to play it on a previous turn, so. They probably just drew that and they have removal in their hand. Well then. Now this is interesting. So what do we want to do here? Could play the old hunting party and just play it after Liara, but at the beginning of each combat, your control gets +1/+1 to end of turn. Okay. So I think what I can do here is I can go ahead and play Liara, and then I can like pump with Battlecry Goblins here with the remaining mana that I have. And then I want to go ahead and pump with them now, so that way I can activate Pack Tactics. So if I have the 6 power when I attack with them, then it will activate the Pack Tactics. And once again, they're taking a long time. I don't know if they have like a combat trick in hand that they're trying to stall and figure out what they want to do here. I think if they had removal, they would have used it already on one of the goblins, so I guess we already would have activated Pack Tactics with how Liara's ability works. I wasn't sure when that would trigger. So I guess I could have waited to pump and then pump the goblins after this, which would have been better, but we are aggro, so yeah, it would have been better to pump after attacking because I didn't know when this ability was going to trigger or what the start of combat is and all yada yada, but so yeah, if they don't block here, they're taking 14 damage, and that's probably too much. So they're going to have to make some blocks here, I think, to try and slow us down. And if I were them, I probably would have double blocked one of the Battlecry Goblins instead and just leave the tokens alone, because these things are going to generate way too much value if they don't have removal for them, so. And if they had removal, they probably should have used it then to make use of their mana, so they probably don't have removal. It's probably a combat trick. Honestly, I'm not even sure. Like, I don't know, maybe they're just holding priority, like, by default with their game settings. And they just hold priority on every turn. Like, full control. Maybe they have the, maybe they have that one, like, Battle Axe type thing that doubles, like, a creature's power. That's like an instant speed combat trick, and they're just deciding if they want to use it to finish me off or if they want to kill a creature with it or something. So we can do Null Hunting Party, but it's probably better to do that after combat should we choose to use it, so Valor Singer could give something +1/+0, and then they could maybe kill us with like a combat trick like the two-handed axe that doubles the creature's power, and then maybe they have like a hasty creature that they give +1/+0 and kill us on the back end. So let's just try and go ahead and do the safe play, and this will also deal damage to our opponent. Maybe they have like the Hippogriff to make something invincible until end of turn, or indestructible. Alright, so that's the combat trick that they were trying to decide on. Alright, so if they have I don't know if there's any combat trick that could kill us with just one creature. They have to have like a Warriors of Tiamat would kill us here. The 4-mana, the 5-mana 4/2 with haste. So they don't have it. They can't kill us here. So why did they do that? I think what they meant to do was, yeah, they made a boo-boo there. Yeah, they kind of made a boo-boo there. They should have, yeah, they should have gone ahead and done the damage with it first, then sacrificed it to play something if they really wanted to. So that'll pump. We're going to get Pack Tactics here. We're just going to go in for the win, and then if we don't kill him here, we can still play the Null Hunting Party for defensive purposes. And so we only need 3 mana for it, so let's go ahead and do this. Make sure we don't accidentally tap out all of our red mana here. Let's go in for the kill and leave mana open for Null Hunting Party. Okay, so we win! Hooray! That aggro deck took way too long to kill them because they were kind of stalling out and thinking about their thinking about each nook and cranny of every turn, I guess. But I don't blame them, but it was taking a long time for them to decide on what they were going to do. So we won the first match of my very first Magic the Gathering video in our Baldur's Gate draft in the Alchemy format. And we get some kind of card here that's not showing. Oh, it's a werewolf card, a pretty good one. So who knows, maybe one day I'll make a werewolf deck in constructed play. So, alright, so no changes to be made. I think that deck did pretty well. And even though we were lucky to draw our white mana for Liara, we had other ways to get that mana or treasure generation. So I'm quite happy with how that turned out. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here because I don't know how long it's going to go ahead and take for the opponent to show up for the next match. Oh, never mind. They showed up. No pause needed. They are ready. Occasionally it takes a little bit for an opponent to show up because they might be in other matches during the draft format. And this is a very good keep. We have all 3 colors. We have Pilgrim's Eye to pick up another red mana for double red, which is pretty prominent in our deck. So turn 2 Rabble Rouser until like turn 3 Swashbuckler, then turn 4 Pilgrim's Eye to pick up our 4th mana that we can put down onto the field if we don't have it yet. Right, so we have treasures here. Hello. Okay, so we're just gonna go with red mana first. It's the stuff that we have here. All right, so this which card do we want to die to removal if they have it? I think that the Rabble Rouser, even though it's an awesome card, is probably what we want to go first because the Battlecry Goblin can take over the game. So let's send out the Rabble Rouser, and if they have removal, they probably use removal on it, like the Dragon's Fire. There's also like a 3 mana removal spell called Band Together that they could probably use. Liara is a good one. But do I want to play it this turn? I mean, I could just attack in here, then use improvised weaponry to finish off the Sylvan Shepherd. Let's do that first. Let's attack, and present the option that we could just try and pump and bluff or something like that. Plus we get double teams, so let's see what they do. Alright. So let's just play the other rabble-rouser that can block their Sylvan Shepherd on the backswing here. They're going to gain life from the Sylvan Shepherd attacking, but at least if we can slow down the aggression, then we can kind of prevent them from getting in the damage. And they gain only 1 life. Alright, so I could go ahead and do Pilgrim's Eye to get the 4th land. I could do Improvised Weaponry as well, just to get rid of the Fire Beetles. This is an interesting one. Very interesting indeed. Valor Singer wouldn't hurt, but still more of an aggro card. And we don't have much mana. Let's attack first and see how they block here. I want to see how they block first. Alright, so they're just going to let us get in there then. And now we go ahead and do Improvised Weaponry. We're just going to do it on the Fire Beetles. Make sure they can't get the double team value out of that. We miss on a land drop, but we get a treasure, so we're still okay as far as mana for next turn. We can still play out the Battlecry Goblin or the Liara next turn after getting a land with Pilgrim's Eye, so we're still pretty good. And then we still have Improvised Weaponry if they get something good here in the deck. Or as a lower mana creature, like maybe a 3/1. Red-green doesn't have too many of the aggro, low toughness cards in it, but you never know. Because I can pump rabble-rousers, I think I can also pump it on my own turn. So next turn I could double block by just keeping them back. Let's go ahead and play the Pilgrim's Eye. Get another red mana. Yep. Grim Bounty is the only double black card that I have, so let's just do this. We have white mana for Liara, so could play it now. This is actually a good idea though, because I can do this. Play Liara now. And defensively, it'll give my rabble-rousers +1/+1 at the start of a combat. So we can prevent their Sylvan Shepherd from attacking in here on defense. Hopefully, I think at the start of combat, it'll give them the +1/+1, and then they're going to hold the Sylvan Shepherd back in combat. Okay, so they don't have anything too threatening except for giant fire beetles, I guess. I guess Reckless Barbarian, maybe they want to ramp into some big creature here. Giant fire beetles probably would have been better because they can get the double team value out of it. So they can't really attack in here. They don't really get anything except for some life gain from Sylvan Shepherd. But maybe that's what they're after. I don't think that there's any 1 mana combat tricks for them to do in red. And if they kill 1 Genocide Rabble-Rouser, we can deal with that. If they were red-black, they could have had Manticore that they could have played in that situation if they had open mana, but that was really the only thing that we'd have to worry about. So we have Battlecry Goblins galore here. I mean, I could just play a couple of them. Or we could just attack first as well. Because Liara is going to go ahead and give our creatures a bit of a pump up. We could attack in with Battlecry Goblin and give it haste. You know what, let's just get in here with our Rabble Rousers because they can't really block any of them. And we can pump both of them and attack in with Pilgrim's Eye. I'm okay with that. And we'll go ahead and pump once. Not sure if you can hear the sound effects there with that. Whenever I do the chatting thing, I'm going to turn the audio down if there's like any... if there's like ambience or sound effect type things that are going on when we do the voice lines. Then we'll go ahead and play one Battlecry Goblin and get one onto the field, and then next turn we can get another Battlecry Goblin out there to pump it with Liara. Liara is just such a good, it's a really good aggro card. Sadly, it doesn't fit into the red-white warrior deck or red-white warrior samurai deck, but it's a very good aggro card in this format. We're not going to block. There's not anything that they can do to pump it up enough to kill us here. So I'm just going to take this. Could have kept the Pilgrim's Eye back to be a chump blocker, but Arcane Archery would have given them trample anyway, so I guess it didn't matter this turn. Looks like they're trying to pump in enough damage to where they can try and kill us before we can kill them, but I don't think that's going to work. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be strong enough for them to deal with the onslaught that is coming for them here, so... See, I think we play one Battlecry Goblin, and then we go ahead and use Battlecry Goblin here to go and give it haste, I think. And then let's get in with everything. I think that they are forced to block. That's 2, 4, 8, 12. We'll hold back Liara then, I guess. Force them to make some very disadvantageous blocks. We're not going to kill them here, but they're going to be forced to make a bad trade. We have Liara as an emergency blocker if we need to make any blocks here. They're at only 2 life, unless they have, like, even if with trample, they're not going to do anything here. If they had, like, the two-handed axe plus arcane archery combo, then maybe they could have gotten in with trample damage to kill us in some way, but... And we're just going to go ahead and block here because they have trample and I don't want to get blown over. We win on the back swing no matter what anyway, so might as well. Good game. Very good game. Just because I want to see how this does, we're just going to do this and get in there. Yeah, as you can see, Battlecry Goblin is still a pretty strong card on its own, even if it's not in the old traditional Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set, where it was even stronger because there was more goblins to combo it with, but with 4 Battlecry Goblins, it's still pretty awesome in any aggro deck, no matter what cards you have, so... Red-white or red-black aggro still makes it very strong for activating the pack tactics pretty easily, so... So I'm going to go ahead and rename my deck, because I actually forgot to name it. I'm going to do red, black, double... I'm going to do red, black, let's do tag team. Instead of double team, we're just going to do red, black, tag team, like the pro wrestling days of old, back when tag teams were, at least in my opinion, a bigger deal back when I was growing up in those kinds of sports. Like, also there's like the Bash Brothers from the Mighty Ducks movies that was back in the 90s. It's like, yeah, the tag team, the people that just beat the crap out of the other team. That's kind of what it was, you know. All right, so we're already at 250 gems, so I'm already at a point to where I'm going to be able to do at least one other draft, at least at some point, maybe later this week, and maybe have that be like a best of 3 draft with a sideboard. Once you get to 3 wins, then you're at a point of almost self-sustaining with the draft format. And then once you get to 5 wins, that's fully self-sustaining with you need 1,500 gems to be able to go ahead and do a premier draft or a traditional draft, I think. And once you get to 5 wins, you end up being able to sustain 1,500 gems and keep on doing draft format videos and things like that. So, Red-Black Tag Team. Let's get in there again and see what poor hapless foe awaits us this time. So yeah, for people reading this, Chromatic Dragons and like Dungeons and Dragons, those are like the colored dragons, like red, white, black, etc. Those are generally the evil dragons that are more greedy and like treasure and stuff like that. Whereas the metallic dragons, like, you know, gold, copper, bronze, silver, etc., those are the good aligned type of dragons that favor, you know, actual, you know, honor and things like that, and they're not like tyrannically minded. This is a bad hand. I mean, 4 lands is okay, but we don't have any aggro cards. Cloak of the Bat, it could give something haste, but we'd have to draw some action. Even though we are on the draw, we need some more action early, so I'm going to mull this. This is better. We have some removal. We can at least get Swashbuckler out. Maybe turn 4 Fireball with a treasure token. And we have all 3 colors here. Do I want Weaponry or Sewer Plague? I don't really need Weaponry because we already have all 3 colors of mana, so Sewer Plague I think is better for removal-wise. If we didn't have the white mana, then I might have kept the Improvised Weaponry to have the treasure token, but Swashbuckler can already generate treasure, and this is a very good draw, so we have a turn 2 play here. We're up against yet another aggro deck. We went up against red-white aggro before, and now we're up against red something aggro. Could be, I guess, red-blue dragons maybe could be a thing. Maybe the War Collar was a pick because it could give like a big creature perpetually haste. Like maybe there's like a high mana dragon that they want to give haste maybe. Alright, so that's a creature that we don't really want to block with the Hobgoblin Captain. So we're just going to get... We're going to get the Captain out, but we're not going to block with it. I'd block the War Caller maybe because I don't want to give like a bigger thing haste, but I'd much rather attack in with the Hobgoblin and have them block it. So we could trade with the Wizened Githner's Eye, but I don't really want to. And I might just play out my planes next turn, because the only reason to keep it in my hand is if I wanted to specialize Servok into the white color with the first strike buff, but I don't know when we're going to draw him, if at all, so... So they could trade, but I would much rather attack them for 3 than block here. Even if they have a 1-mana creature to bring out, it'd only be maybe like a War Caller or something. So what do I want to do here? I probably want to save Sewer Plague for something bigger, and it's instant speed removal, so I'll just wait until their turn for that. I'm not going to play the Swashbuckler yet, because I might want to use the treasure to get out maybe one of my bigger creatures. And if I save Sewer Plague for their turn, I can maybe hit a nice big fat creature with it. if they attack in here, I'm not going to use Sewer Plague on any of those cards. I might use it now to prevent them from getting the card draw. Let's wait until they attack. Maybe. Yeah, because it's combat damage. Okay, so we're going to wait until they attack first before using our removal. That way they can't like re-equip it onto the Kobold Warcaller here. Now we're going to do this. So they use all their mana for nothing, they only deal 1 damage, so we wait until they attack and then they weren't able to re-equip it onto the Warcaller for combat. Ooh, that's a good draw. Okay, so I think what I want to do here is I want to go ahead and do this, and then I have enough red to play both of these. Not that it matters with the treasure token, but yeah, let's just go ahead and do this now. I could play Battlecry Goblin, then pump the Hobgoblin, but I'd rather just get them both out here. I'll do that first and see if they... do I want to give it Double Strike? No, I think I'm going to save it and just get out my Battlecry Goblin first. Battlecry Goblin can pump. We can get Pack Tactics here to really get the aggro going. They can't really equip the Kobold Warcaller with this very effectively, so they're not going to get the card draw that they want. I don't think that there's any combat tricks in red or white in this set that give trample. I think only green gives trample with the combat tricks in this set. In previous sets, I think that red had a couple of tricks like that, but I know that there were some equipment cards that occasionally did that for trample. This set I don't think has any of that. The two-handed axe doesn't give trample, it just gives, I think, double strike or something like that, or doubles the creature's power. Okay, so I think it's a pretty easy decision here. We're going to attack. We're going to activate Pack Tactics either way. But I think what I want to do is I want to play the Fireball before blocks, so that way they can't really kill any of our stuff here. They can sacrifice the Reckless Barbarian and then maybe do something with it, but I just want to get this out of the way so we don't have to lose a creature to it. We don't get the secondary effect, but we still kill it, and I'm okay with that. We still get Pack Tactics here. They can't kill any of our creatures except maybe the 1/1 tokens. So let's get in there. Hobgoblin Captain has first strike. The other ones have 2 toughness, so Warcaller can't kill any of them. And I doubt they want to... Well, I guess they might trade with the token to try and prevent some of the damage, but... I mean, it would make sense to trade the Warcaller here because they don't have any other board other than the Warcaller, and it prevents damage on future turns when we might pump with the Battlecry Goblin, but... Yeah, so I guess I'm not sure what card that they have in hand. If it's removal, it's probably not going to be enough to stop us. They might draw something good here. If they had, like, Dragon's Breath, that would really kill us pretty good, but I'm not sure if they would have that. Yeah, so I guess they don't have Dragon's Breath. That's probably their only out. They might have had one because they have an Orb of Dragonkind, so maybe they have dragon cards, but... The Sweeper and Dragon's Breath was probably their only way out of that. But it was a good game from the opponent. They got kind of caught between a rock and a hard place when I used Sewer Plague on their Goggles creature. So not getting the card draw value kind of hurt them there. Probably not a card that I'll play anytime soon, but interesting card and interesting art too. This looks like a badass boss enemy from a video game or something like that. So. Alright, so we're at 3-0 with our very first Magic the Gathering draft here, so let's go right back and get in there with our tag teaming creatures that are rocking and stalking them, so aggro all day, so all day, all the time. Alright, so I might go ahead and pause it here and then wait for the opponent to show up, but I'll go ahead and I'll see you guys back here in just a second. Alright, and here we go again after unpausing the video there, or the recording. Let's see what we're going up against now. This is probably a mole. Only 2 mana, we only have black, we have good red cards, so we don't have any red mana to play them. It's going to be a while to get Grim Bounty for the treasure token, so I have to get sooner action. This is also a mole, especially on the play. We can't really do anything unless we draw red mana, so I'm going to have to go down to 5. This is a keep. And we don't have mana for Fireball, and Grim Bounty might not make the cut either here. Pilgrim's Eye can get like a 4th mana if we get draw a land at some point. Yeah, I think we have to go with Grim Bounty because I think we want double red with Pilgrim's Eye, if anything. So here, at least if we draw land, we can play Fire Beetles and Pilgrim's Eye. We have some removal to buy us time with Dragon's Fire. That was a very good draw for us. So if they have a good 2-drop here, I'll Dragon's Fire it. That's a pretty good 2-drop to use Dragon's Fire on, so let's just go ahead and get rid of the Toll Keeper now. They still get the effect, but it's not going to matter too much. They could choose the Swamp. Have the Swamp enter tapped, and then we can't play our 3-drops. But we get another Swamp anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. So let's get the aggro card with Menace, and they can't really block it with only a single creature here, so they could use removal on it, or maybe some kind of if they have Rasad in their hand, which is a 3-mana white card that like exiles a creature that we have, or a permanent, then that could deal with the Fire Beetles pretty well. Okay. Ooh, Battlecry Goblin. I mean, if we go ahead and just play, or if we just attack with the Fire Beetles here, we can get double team and then play another one. And it makes the best use of mana, so... And they can't block it because we have Menace, so... Again, I could Pilgrim's Eye, so we didn't have to play a tapped land there, but I think just going for the double team value is what we want here. Give ourselves some extra gas after starting with only 5 cards. So they get some good value off the Soul Knife Spy, but that's kind of okay. Battlecry Goblin number 2. Well, it's a good thing I did the Fire Beetle stuff first, because then they used their removal on it instead of the Battlecry Goblins, so... I could play the Pilgrim's Eye, then get out, like maybe some more red mana, or maybe I just go ahead and tap it this way. Play Pilgrim's Eye, get the white mana in case we draw Liara. Yep. We get our white mana, and then we play the white mana, and then we get out the Battlecry Goblin, I think. We can also attack first. Yeah, let's go and attack first. We can still attack in here. They can't block it. And then we'll play this. So if they attack, I probably just block Soldiers of the Watch. Just get rid of the creature. And just allow them to draw cards here, because there's not much I can do otherwise. I just have to be on the aggro plan to try and kill them before they get value off of their extra cards. They still can't block the Fire Beetles with the Menace. Liara would be a great draw here, so we can attack into the Priest more effectively. Well, that's okay too. We can at least pump some of the goblins that we have if we do this. I think we just go ahead and do this and get in there. It taps my mana very poorly there. I don't know why it did that. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and attack here. We're aggro, we gotta get in there. Obviously they're going to trade here, and we're just going to have to live with that. We have to hope that our aggro can kind of carry us to victory here. Yeah, the auto tapper should have tapped like 1 red and 1 like white mana or something like that instead of tapping 2 red, because then I could have double pumped there. That was very bad on the part of the game here to auto tap that way. Lifelink is very bad for us though. That is very bad. Sewer Plague, on the other hand, gives us a bit of an out here if they want to equip the Basilisk thing onto something else. Gives us a bit of an out to deal with the Basilisk thing. So, since it's instant speed removal, we're just going to attack first and let them do their things before deciding on how we want to use it. Maybe they re-equip the Basilisk thing onto maybe a hasty creature, I don't know. Alright, that's fine. They can kill the fire beetles if they want, but it's 5 mana, so... And let's just take care of this now. Card draw and lifelink, the bane of our existence. The bane of our existence, so... And even if they have a combat trick here... Okay, so they have that, but we prevent the card draw and the life gain, so we slow them down at the very least. And we force them to reveal the combat trick and use it. Sadly, the perpetual part of it doesn't really come into play because they blinked it in and out of the field there, but unequips prevents the attack, and that's kind of what we need. It looks like they're kind of like the blue-white blink type deck. They have like some into the battlefield effects. They have some double team. They have this that's like an into the battlefield effect as well for blinking and making sure that your permanents come in tapped. We're going to go ahead and hold this, not only just to not reveal the fact that it's a land, but also because Saravok might be able to specialize with this if we discard it, so we're going to hold that in our hand for that. And we're going to attack in with the fire beetles. Yeah, if they wanted to block there, we would have been able to choose the Soul Knife Spy and kill that when they're blocking, so... And I think we kind of have to double block here. We can't afford to have them getting in there every turn with the Soul Knife Spy, so... They probably have a combat trick here. But at least we force them to use it, and we just give away some tokens for it, so... We're already in a rough spot here. We need like a Saravok or some high-end card, and we don't get it, so... We did not get it. Okay. Well, we can't really attack into them now. We can kill the priest, but what does that really accomplish? Not much. Not much reason to play out the lands, so I'm just going to hold back here, and we're probably going to lose this match, but I'm just going to wait it out and see if maybe we get a miracle draw here that can help us. Yeah, we're going to lose because the Soul Knife Spy can just go over the top and kill us here, so we're just going to not waste their time. Good game, and they're taking this one, so... Yeah, anything that's like a blue tempo deck or anything that can slow you down in that fashion can really punish you in the aggro deck like this, so... There are some bad matchups even if you have awesome super duper cards, and we just didn't draw enough action there, and I had to mull a couple times and still couldn't find the action I was looking for, so... Yeah, if you look at the deck, we have plenty of like 2-drops here, and we just didn't draw any of them quick enough. So at least about half of our deck is just 2-drops, so we need at least one of them in our hand, I think, to have a good chance. 2-drop creature cards, that is. Excuse me. Alright, so I might go ahead and pause the recording here once again and join you guys when the player shows up for the next match. So, see you guys shortly. Alright, we are back into the match here. The opponent showed up pretty quickly there, so what about this hand? We have improvised weaponry to play Saravok. We can't really play Grim Bounty, but we do get Battlecry Goblin out quickly. We can turn 3 weaponry into turn 4 Saravok. Yeah, I think this hand is worth a keep. So yeah, we have a decent curve here. Turn 2 Goblin, turn 3 weaponry, turn 4 Saravok maybe. Alright, so we lose the weaponry to get Saravok out, but at least we have a Dragon's Fire here as removal. Alright, we get the black mana that we needed. Okay. You know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and do the aggro plan and take care of that. We don't have to worry about trying to block it. We're going to get our black mana out and attack. Then turn 4 we can do Saravok. Alright, so we could... I don't know if we want to attack into that. Unless we got the first strike. Oh, it's Menace. Menace works too, actually. We'd have to ditch the planes for first strike, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah, so giving it first strike for the Battlecry Goblin is also legit. But it means that we can't play Liara, so... Or at least, we don't have the white mana to play them reliably. So I think I have to go white. Then we'll just play the Saravok and pass. We don't want to trade the Battlecry Goblin for Pseudo Dragon Familiar, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so what do we want to do here? I can specialize and give Battlecry Goblin Menace and save my removal for later. On the other hand, we have the land to at least play the removal. And if we discard the land, then we can't really do that. Could also discard Grim Bounty since I can't play it yet, and then... what is it? Okay, so it would pump up my Goblin, but that's not really going to help, so... let's go ahead and specialize into red and give a Menace here. Yep. I think we're just going to discard the mountain. I already have double red. And then we can attack in here with Saravok too. So we'll give the Battlecry Goblin Menace, and then we can attack in with both here. And we get the Pack Tactics. They can block the token, but we're getting in for 6. We still have removal in our hand, and we have Specialized Saravok kind of going in according to plan, so if we draw any land, it's good. If we draw some action, that's also good. Sadly, they take out the Saravok, but they use removal on it, so Guildsworn Prowler is decent. It can get in there. Sadly, we don't really have Menace on Battlecry Goblin anymore, so I think we have to play the Guildsworn Prowler and just pass it over here to our opponent. I don't know if they have any 2-mana removal, like, I don't know, maybe they have like a Undersimplify counterspell with a treasure token being blue mana. We're going to pass and wait. We have removal to open a path for our creatures. And if I'm going to trade anything, I would much rather trade a Prowler for a Pseudo-Dragon. Oh, Warriors of Tiamat is interesting, but we can't play it yet. We need one more land to play it. Yeah, this is the disadvantage of discarding the land instead of the fireball, because the extra land would at least allow us to play more. And we're getting kind of punished for it right now. Yeah, let's see. I can pump the Goblin twice, but that's not enough for pack tactics. And so I'm just going to get in with the Guildsworn Prowler here and offer a trade. If they want to trade, that's fine. Maybe we can draw a land and then play it. I don't know if there's any combat tricks to make it indestructible, but... Okay, so I'm going to play that. But we still draw the card, so it doesn't really... Like, we get what we wanted out of that. Oh, and Liara. Alright, so they gave this one, I think, Perpetual. Yeah, so... But we can still get Liara in there and pump it, so... Better than nothing, and... We still have 2 creatures out there. If we draw 1 more mana, we're still in pretty good shape here. They don't really have much of a board right now. Maybe they have removal here that they might want to use on Liara. Sewer Plague is decent, but it's... We still can't really attack. We can pump Goblin twice and trade if we wanted to. Maybe that's the play. I mean, if we draw another Battlecry Goblin and get pack tactics, it might still... We can still generate extra goblins with it, but... let's just attack in here and... Yeah, I think we just attack in with the goblin and offer to trade and then save a removal for something else. Because we can still pump the goblin and make it a 2/2 that trades with a Pseudo-Dragon. And if they want to use a combat trick or removal on our Battlecry Goblin, then I'm okay with that too, and getting rid of their last card. So yeah, we'd have to draw like Battlecry Goblin into Battlecry Goblin, I think, to really be able to do anything with that. So, but Liara can still play off a Battlecry Goblin in the graveyard if we draw another one, so... Okay, so they give a creature Menace, I guess. It doesn't really matter because they have flying, so they might attack in here. Yeah. Alright, so we get an extra swamp. We get Grim Bounty with the treasure. So yeah, I think we just Grim Bounty the Beholder. I don't think there's really much that they can have here. They can maybe flicker it out, or maybe they can use Undersimplify as a counter spell here, but we have to go for it anyway, otherwise we might lose. And then we'll get in there with Liara, get some damage in, and see if we can try and win the race with our removal spells. Warriors of Tiamat also goes off pretty well with Liara, but Cloak of the Bat. Well, I think I want to use some removal first. I could Sewer Plague and Cloak of the Bat and just equip Cloak of the Bat next turn on Warriors of Tiamat. Fireball can still deal with some pretty big threats if we need to adjust our plans, so... Yeah, let's do Sewer Plague pre-combat here, see if they have anything. Like a counterspell or something. Alright, so we have Dream Fracture, but we draw a card, so we might get land, and we do. Okay, so we don't get the removal down, but we do get Cloak of the Bat down. And I'm quite fine with this. And I'm not going to attack with Liara just yet. I want to see if I can get the Warriors of Tiamat value here. Okay, so they're going to probably return, yeah, the Beholder. We don't have an enchantment to sacrifice, that's only artifacts, so they have to do the Menace, which is kind of meaningless for them, unfortunately for them. And we still have Fireball to go ahead and kill their Baleful Beholder, so... Okay, so we can do Fireball, then equip Cloak of the Bat. Well, we don't actually need to equip Cloak of the Bat, do we? Because if we kill the Beholder, they don't have a blocker. But if we do Warriors of Tiamat, then equip with Cloak of the Bat, then we can try and race them. And then maybe chump block with Liara on the Beholder. That might be the better play. I can still eventually play the Null Hunting Party. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go for the more aggressive strategy here and equip Cloak of the Bat on this thing. And then get the double team value here. So I either force them to use something here. If they have something here, then it might be game over, but we get the double team, we get some extra gas at the very least. They might not have a way to deal with it unless they draw some removal. Okay, so they had a way to get past it. Can't be blocked, and our flying creature is already tapped, so they win. It happens. Removal would have been the safer play there, but I thought that they might be able to tempo us out if we don't get in there fast and put them on a clock, so it is what it is. It is what it is. Alright, so let's go in and see if we can try and get more than 3 wins with this deck. Started off strong, and then we went into some more tempo-focused decks that were able to deal with our aggro plan, and we weren't able to draw enough action to curve out and get in there. Got kind of mana screwed there, having only 4 lands for a while and not being able to play the Grim Bounty soon enough, so... Okay, so this is a pretty good keep. We got Battlecry Goblin into either Dragon's Fire or Weaponry on turn 3, so that's pretty good. And we have 2 colors of mana, so... I'm going to go and get a quick drink of water real quick, and then I'll be right back, probably. My throat's getting kind of dry here, so I'll be back in 1 second here. Alright, I have returned and I now have my water. Let's go ahead and play some aggro here. Yeah, my throat's just getting kind of dry. As you talk for long periods of time, you just have to hydrate yourself and drink some water here and there. Okay, let's see. We got Liara. We don't have the mana for her, but we can do... Yeah, we can do improvised weaponry this turn to make the best use of mana. Kill their... I mean, they get value off Circle of the Land if it dies, but that's only if they have something in their graveyard and they didn't choose to mill there, so they don't get value off of it. So let's just kill it now. Kill it with weaponry, we get the treasure for Liara, and we can attack in. And they'll probably choose the mill here, I think. Yeah, so they're going to get value off of it if we kill it now, but it's still probably worth it because they only return it to their hand and not to the battlefield. Liara would be pretty good too, but we can do both Dragon's Fire and... can we? We can't. We only have one red mana. Alright, so we have to choose one or the other here. I think we just Dragon's Fire now, so we can just keep on attacking in. We don't want to reveal a dragon card. We don't need to, so... They might have the 1 mana Hippogriff combat trick to give it indestructible, but if they do, then... Okay. So if we would have revealed a dragon card, then we could have killed that. Maybe in retrospect I should have anticipated maybe they had a combat trick, but... At the very least I forced them to use their combat trick, so... no attacks here. I'll let them attack in if they want to, and then attack on the backswing. Yeah, I could have revealed Warriors of Tiamat since it's technically a dragon. Flaming Fist Officer is probably a better candidate for removal though, so saving my removal maybe would have been better. But such is life when you live in the fast lane. So we can do Pilgrim's Eye, then Liara. With we can get... I guess we can get another red mana because we only have one other Liara in the deck that we need white mana for, so... But we do have double red that we need double red for, so... So we have the treasure for Liara, so we can play that with the extra red mana here, and then get this in there, play it. We miss out on like a turn. We miss out on the Warriors of Tiamat next turn if we don't draw land, but let's just hold back for now. Next turn we can potentially get in the Pack Tactics if we pump Battlecry Goblin once, or get Valor Singer out there to pump something. If we draw another Battlecry Goblin, that would actually be even better, because then they have to double block one of them to be able to kill one. Battlecry Goblin is the ideal draw here for us. Yeah, so they're going to gain 3 life because they don't want to attack in and leave an opening for us to attack, I think. Genocide Rabble-Rouser is also pretty good here. Rabble-Rouser is a decent blocker. It blocks the Circle of the Land Druid really well. We can also pump it on our defense to kill Flaming Fist Officer pretty effectively. However, the Valor Singer allows us to go ahead and get the Pack Tactics value. So maybe that's just the play here. We just attack in. And it makes the best use of mana, so... do we want to attack? That's the question. I think we'll attack in with the Pilgrim's Eye, and we'll hold back on the other cards and see what we draw next turn. And then if we draw a land, then we can get in with Warriors of Tiamat and Battlecry Goblin with Pack Tactics, and just leave back Liara and Valor Singer. I'm willing to trade this for the Flaming Fist Officer. If they have a combat trick, then so be it. I'd rather force them to use it right now and not allow them to get value off of killing a different creature for this thing. Alright, so now we know that they have a 7-drop there that they can maybe play next turn, which makes Grim Bounty even better. So, well, the combat trick worked out for them. We now know that they have that and they will play it. So we're going to hold Grim Bounty back. I think we just play the Rabble Rouser now and then allow it to pump on defense if we need to for whatever reason. Right now we don't really have any good attacks. We could technically get Pack Tactics by pumping Battlecry Goblin, but I don't think that I want to, because then we are forced into a bad trade. So if we can go ahead and cast Grim Bounty next turn, if we don't draw a land, then we can at least get a treasure for casting Warriors of Tiamat on the following turn. It's not looking good for us right now because they slowed down the tempo a lot and we don't have any good attacks, but we can still pump on defense to try and kill like an inspiring Bard or double blocking the Flaming Fist Officer. Genocide Rabble Rouser blocks their Circle of the Land Druid, so I don't think they'll attack with that unless they have another combat trick. So I think what we do is this and this, and if we draw a Battlecry Goblin, we can still get value with Liara if we draw another one, basically. I think this is the most effective blocks that we can make, because we can't double pump Battlecry Goblin to kill the Flaming Fist Officer, and then we have to save the Pilgrim's Eye to chump block it on the future turn when they attack next. Okay, so we can't really kill the Inspiring Bard now, but we can kill the Circle of the Land Druid, so we're going to do that. So it looks like they're saving their Lindworm thing here. Maybe they don't have the mana for it. They do now, but they probably didn't draw any mana, or they probably would have played it. Maybe they're afraid I might have removal them stashing away. I mean, I'd love to play the Battlecry Goblin, but the problem is that I'm going to get hit on the backswing. I have to make a chump block, basically, and I can't really chump block the Dread Linarm. But I can give it haste, so, and it still gets a +1/+1 because I have a Battlecry Goblin in the graveyard here. So let's just attack in. We're not going to block with either of those. So let's just attack, get the Pack Tactics value, and then we'll block the Flaming Fist Officer with the Pilgrim's Eye here to slow them down a little bit. Okay, so if they have Arcane Archery in their hand, then we're kind of dead. The Trample. Alright, so we can do Grim Bounty. Yeah, we can't chump block it, so I think we have to use the removal now, and then maybe next turn we can play Null Hunting Party with the treasure that we get. So let's do this. And then we have to keep something back to block here. We can pump with the Battlecry Goblin, though. I think that we actually do that. We want to do this, so that way we have pack tactics. Then we get a free goblin here, I think. That would be 6/8 damage. That's not enough, so yeah, even if we get an extra token, it's still not enough, so we need to keep a chump blocker back for the Flaming Fist Officer. And then we have to hope that we can get lethal this next turn with like Warriors of Tiamat being hasty. Alright, so I think we're going to seal a win here by the skin of our skinny tin teeth. Or of our... by the skin of our teeth is maybe the more appropriate way to say that. We still activate pack tactics here. Yeah, they have to have something. I don't know what they might have. You know what, let's just, if they have removal, so be it, but we have to go for the win here. I think it's our best chance. And they're going to have to block something here. We make another token, it gets Alright, we got the win. Whew. I mean, it wasn't looking good for a while, but the timely Grim Bounty saving our buttus, our buttkiss, our butticus, our ass. Yeah, Grim Bounty won us the game there by being able to take out their Lenorm that we can't chump block. And then Pilgrim's Eye came in the clutch to slow them down just enough, and then Battlecry Goblin Goodness and Liara of the Flaming Fist really getting the aggro going. So Liara and Battlecry Goblin in multiples, just a very potent combination, very strong. Again, Battlecry Goblin isn't as busted as it was in the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set, where there's more goblins to go off with it, but it's very good in the aggro decks with the pack tactics going on and the double team and multiples. So I love it. Let's drink some water here. I don't know if it's going to be a long wait now that we're getting into the nitty gritty. You know, the players that have gone 0-3 are not going to be playing any matches anymore, so people might be waiting around for me to join into the game with them. Alright, so after getting my drink of water, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording here and wait for a player to show up for my next match, and I'll see you then. Alright, here we are once again against 3Dub this time. That's an interesting name. Hopefully they're not going to dub all over me in my deck here. It's a slow hand, but it's not a bad one. We can get white mana with Pilgrim's Eye. Cloak of the Bat can give something haste if we draw into something, and we are on the draw, so we can draw some action hopefully. So I'm going to keep this. So turn 2, Cloak of the Bat. Alright, so we drew some action. That's perfect, actually. Cloak of the Bat's going to go very well with the Hobgoblin Captain. We can just attack in with them pretty effectively. So, okay, so they're going to go for a turn 3 Dragon, I'm assuming. And we can deal with that with improvised weaponry, so I think we'll do turn 2 Hobgoblin Captain, turn 3 Weaponry, and then maybe turn 4 Cloak of the Bat equip onto our Captain here. Seems like a pretty good combo. If we don't draw a land, we'll probably play Pilgrim's Eye to get the land. Maybe go for the white mana in case we draw a Liara. Okay, so it's going to go in there. We're not going to block it. Improvised weaponry does not do anything here, so we're just going to go ahead and attack in and then play the Pilgrim's Eye. Pilgrim's Eye can at least, I think, can block the young red dragons, so we're going to take action and get our white mana. Yeah, we're not going to jump block here. We're going to save maybe some removal, or we can keep back the Hobgoblin Captain maybe to block it. I mean, they might win the race here, but we have removal for the young red dragon if they want to play it. Maybe they have removal of their own, and they're going to hold back on the red dragon. Well, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place here, because Cloak of the Bat now doesn't really do that much for us, so... we can't play Null Hunting Party even if we attack with our Pilgrim's Eye, so... I mean, we can go ahead and play the Goblin and then give it haste. Might be the best thing to do to try and race them. So let's just go ahead and give it haste. And get in for 4. It may not be a race that will win, but improvised weaponry is going to take out the red dragon when they decide to play it, whatever that is. So, and then if we do improvised weaponry next turn, then we can go ahead and play. Okay, well that's going to be. Yeah, that's not going to be very good. Doubling their power, that's going to be pretty bad. And we don't have enough mana for 2 weaponries to kill it, so... Well, actually, yeah, we do. We can play weaponry, and then we get a treasure, and then we can play another weaponry. I think that has to be the plan, because... I mean, they're going to kill us if they end up attacking with this, with the trample damage, so... I think we have to do this now, and it allows us to at least attack this turn. So we pay, we get the treasure at least, we have mana for next turn at least. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave this back in case they decide to attack. It's a bit too risky, in my opinion, to allow them to get in for 4 and put us into a corner. We have Dragon's Fire that can kill it. We have Grim Bounty that can also kill it, so we have options here. Well, at least if they're going to use it, they use it on the Pilgrim's Eye instead. And they can play the Young Red Dragon with the tokens, but there you have something else in mind. So let's see, 1/4 Death Touch, so we can't attack into it at the beginning of your end step. And then we play that card, so you're going to get major card advantage out of this. Alright, well, it's kind of a bummer because I don't think that there's anything that we can really do now. I could pump Battlecry Goblin and attack in, but I'm not sure what that really accomplishes, so... Huh. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, with only 6 mana, I don't think that there's anything that we can actually do here, so I think we just have to play the Null Hunting Party and hope for the best. At the very least, we can trade the Null Hunting Party for the Sellsword. I mean, First Strike would be great, because they can attack into the Tomebound, but... I don't know, maybe we chump block with the Goblin and then attack with Null Hunting Party, and then we can do double team to get another one out. I mean, as much as I hate the chump block with the Battlecry Goblin, that might be the only thing that we can do here. Okay, so they're going to play that, so we can't really get double team here, but that's okay. We can at least try to slow them down as much as possible, because they can't really attack with their 2 creatures there. Okay, what's that? A removal spell. So we want to attack here. I think that it is imperative that we attack. And then we have treasures. We can do Saravok. We can do Cloak of the Bat too. We can't really discard anything to specialize Saravok. We have 2 creature cards in there. Yeah, I think we have to maybe just Cloak of the Bat here. I have no idea. I mean, this gives us a blocker. Let's just do this instead. At the very least, we get a blocker out of this. And we can maybe try and threaten lethal, maybe, perhaps. Let's give it to this because it has first strike and double team. And then let's go ahead and attack with that. And if we attack with Battlecry Goblin, we can pump after the attack. And we'd have a total of 11 damage threatening lethal. Yeah, let's do that. Let's at least threaten lethal and force them to do something here. Maybe make them think that we have a... And we can play Null Hunting Party in defense, at the very least, so... So we can have 2 blockers, and they can deal, like, 1 damage. Okay, so we can pump, but it's not going to accomplish anything, so let's just stay back here and go to damage. Play another Null Hunting Party because we have the treasure and we're able to stay alive here. Never mind. I guess they have Method's Enthusiasm. That might end up getting us here. Kind of forgot about that they had their removal spell there. Yeah, I think they're going to attack with everything, use Method's Enthusiasm, and get us here. Yeah, I had to do something there. I could have held back and tried to delay the game a little bit, but I don't think it would have changed anything, so... Unfortunately, we're going 4-3 here, but 4-3 is still not bad. We get enough gems to do another draft video at some point in the future, so... I'm okay with that if that's the way it is, so... It happens sometimes. But I mean, it's a pretty good looking deck. You know, we had a good red-black aggro thing going. I think that red-white might have been overall better for aggro, but red-black aggro without having any of the sacrifice synergies is still a pretty good deck. And 4 wins is still pretty solid. We end up getting a pretty good amount of gems here, so we can do some more drafting videos here. And we get 3 packs, and so let's go ahead and see what we get from these packs, and I can give you an idea of what I might do as far as like picking in a draft format if we were to draft or pick up these pack of cards here. Raphael is the rare, which is a pretty damn good one if you have the deck for it. Probably better in Constructed when you can have the demon type deck going on and the card types that you need. But still a really good card. 4/4 flying for 5 mana, still pretty good. I would probably still end up taking Liara of the Flaming Fist because it goes really well with the double team, and red-white has lots of double team cards, so... And as you can see, even in red-black, it was still pretty solid on the splash, so... I would actually say it was pretty amazing on the splash. It won us like 2 games, I think, so... I'd take Liara of the Flaming Fist and then hope to wheel the Kobold Warcaller, which is also pretty awesome in a red-white aggro deck, or red-black aggro would also be pretty reasonable there. Sword Plague is also good removal that I could hope to wheel. Raphael, I bet, wouldn't wheel, but I think that Liara just has better synergies going and is lower curve. Because trying to build a deck around demons, devils, imps, and tieflings would be a bit difficult in the draft format because you just don't know what you're going to get. There's enough dragons to build around a dragon theme, but demons, devils, tieflings, and imps not really enough of them, I think. Young Blue Dragon, split the spoils, and a rare wild card. Alright, so what will we get here? I think it would be between the Shambling Ghast and the Bronze Walrus. Probably the if I were first picking, I'd pick the Bronze Walrus here because it's going to go in any deck. It ramps, it scries for card advantage. Even in an aggro deck, it would work pretty well because if you scry, they can try and make sure that you get good draws, and maybe you can top out with like a 5-mana creature on turn 4 would still be pretty solid for an aggro deck, especially if you have like double team going on. So I'd pick the Bronze Walrus there, but if I was in the middle of the pack and I was already going like red-black or black-white or some other black kind of deck, I'd go with Shambling Ghast probably, just because it's just a very good trade card early on where you can trade with it for like a 3/1 aggro creature, and then you can get like a treasure out of it for free. Or you can get you can hold creatures back because of the -1/-1 aspect and prevent aggro from getting in there. So then for this one, we have Guildstorm Prowlers down there, and a Grim Hireling. Well, that's an excellent card to open up if you were doing a first pick. This is one of the treasure build-around cards that I was also hoping to go ahead and wheel or come around to me in one of the packs that we were picking because we had lots of treasure generation. But we had the treasure synergy enablers to where we could enable it by getting treasure tokens, but we didn't have any of the payoffs to take advantage of the treasure tokens, and Grim Hireling is one of those. So red-black has Grim Hireling in it, and as you can see here, you can sacrifice treasures to basically kill anything you want. So yeah, that would be a good deck for Unexpected Windfall, to get treasures, and then you kill creatures and you just keep on doing it until they have removal for your Grim Hireling. So I love it. This is like a medium kind of dragon card for a dragon deck, but it's in the right color for it, so it's not a bad card if you're going full dragons and you kind of wheel it. This is a pretty good removal spell for white cards and white aggro deck, because you get a free creature card out of it and its removal. This is a good, really, as I mentioned before, this is like a really good top-end card, so this is something that is going to finish off a game very quickly if they can't use removal on it, because they can't chump block it, so you have to block it with one of your more powerful creatures. So, and then the Guildsworn Prowler, we didn't really get to see much of it in our matches for this deck, but on the whole, it's still a pretty good card as far as being able to get in there, attack. You can trade with it, and you get a free card draw out of it if they decide to block it or blow it up with removal. So this is actually a pretty good pack here. Flaming Fist Officer is also really good in the Blink deck, or the black-white sacrifice type deck, which you can kind of do with some of the sacrifice synergies, and you can just sacrifice tokens or small creatures like the Shambling Ghast, and then you pump this thing up. And very good in the Blink deck, where you blink creatures in and out of the battlefield and pump it up too. So Grim Hireling, easily the pick there, but there's lots of good cards in that one. So I would not begrudge anyone for going for a different card there if it was like the second or third pack in a draft. So I thank everyone for watching, and I hope everyone enjoyed my first true foray into Magic the Gathering on my channel. It's been something that I've been playing for a really long time, and ever since like the early days of, the late 90s, early 2000s era of Magic, where I would play, paper Magic with my brother or with our family friends that used to go and take us to the game store to buy cool Magic the Gathering stuff or video game stuff or occasionally D&D stuff. So all in good time, though. We will get to the next drafts at some point in the future, and I thank everyone for watching, and I hope you all had a very good time with the red-black aggro deck, and hopefully in the future we'll have many more eventful matches and many more eventful decks for you all to watch. So thank you everyone for joining me through this video, and hope to see you all next time, and have a very good day. And as always, take care.